is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Florida.
Power. It can change a game in an instant. Marcell Ozuna and Justin Bour provided the punch. Adam Conley the heat, and down went the Phils. Enter Wei-Yin Chen. Miami's lefty goes after the Phillies. Tonight, Marlins Phillies, Game 2. Some rain in the area, but not enough to stop baseball tonight at Citizens Bank Park. As the Marlins and the Phillies play Game 2 Fish, Game 1 winners, and it tightened an already tight race in the East. 4 teams, 2 games. That's the separation at the top of the East. Giancarlo Stanton and the Marlins going after the Phillies again. Hi, everybody. Rich Waltz along with Al Leiter. You look at those standings. You see how tight it was. Very important for the Marlins coming off a nice weekend in Washington to get Game 1 yesterday.
So we talked about it yesterday, the start of this series, with the Philadelphia Phillies being a surprise of the National League, really baseball. But you know a little geography, don't you?
Yes.
All right, so this is the I-95 happening right here, right? You got all the way to Miami, up to New York, through D.C. We're going to exclude I-75 and I-85 in Atlanta because they look like they're out of it. But this is fun. I know, listen, we're mid-May. This is exciting, no question about it, with the Phillies doing what they're doing and the Marlins are doing, and they got Wei-Yin Chen on the mound tonight.
So which team is going to pull into the commuter lane and scoot by the other?
Steak.
Wei-Yin Chen, tell me about this lefty. His last start, one of his best.
One of his best, yes, Rich. I like this kid a lot. There's a reason why the Marlins signed him to his big contract to solidify the front end there with Jose Fernandez. He was dominating. And we talk about a guy that was going after these Brewer hitters. I think the big thing to look for with Wei-Yin Chen, he likes to come inside. We saw Connolly with these Philly hitters last night. To keep that ball to stay inside when he throws the fastball. The combination of his curveball, his slider, and changeup is excellent. He has to pitch. He throws a lot of strikes and be aggressive. That high fastball to Lucroy, I'd like to see more of it.
Vince Velasquez, give me 15 seconds on this right-hander.
Wow, I'll tell you what, it's a little deceiving. His last 2 starts, I see that they're not as good, but boy, against the Braves last start, into the 7th inning, didn't get it out, and gave up 4 runs. This guy's got exceptional stuff. You talk about swing and miss stuff. Velasquez, this is a good matchup.
So there's your matchup, and of course, power for the Fish last night with a couple of home runs. Oh, yeah. Emails and tweets, kids. Hashtag NL East. As the Marlins and the Phillies play Game 2 Florida is brought to you by the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica. By the Florida Department of Transportation, reminding you to drive sober or get pulled over. By your local Toyota dealers, let's go places. And by Southwest Airlines, transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Well, you could see the clouds in downtown Philadelphia and at Citizens Bank Park. Clouds are starting to move away. Rain most of the afternoon. Neither team took batting practice or any type of drills on the field. They took the tarps off about 20 minutes ago, and here we go. Miami's lineup tonight is brought to you by UHealth Sports Medicine. Derek Dietrich, Martin Prado, Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton, Justin Bour, Marcell Ozuna, Adeiny Echeverria, Jeff Mathis, and Wei-Yin Chen. You see the numbers that Martin Prado continues to put up. Prado last night, another nice night, 2 more hits. And the Marlins will be facing a 23-year-old Vince Velasquez.
Vincent Velasquez, I'll tell you what, watching this guy early on, he had a shutout against the Padres, dominating stuff. All you have to see, look at this, folks. 49 strikeouts and 43 1/3 innings in the big leagues. That's exceptional. The 13 walks is impressive as well. Let's take a look at the scouting report of Mr. Velasquez. Mostly fastballs. 70% of his pitches are fastballs. He throws a curveball and changeup. Mostly fastball, curve. What a deal, Rich. So far, I'll tell you what, the Fightin' Phils, they got the best of this Ken Giles deal. They got Brett Oberholzer. Remember Mark Appel, the #1 overall out of Stanford. Also Thomas Eshelman and that young man right there. And Yellie's bud, the last one there was, he played summer ball with Christian Yelich out in Thousand Oaks, California.
How about that? That's pretty sweet.
And he hit a bomb off him last start.
All right, you want to do defense for these Fightins?
Yeah, let's take a look at the Fightin' Phils right here. What we got left field? Tyler Goodell, nice young-looking player. Odubel Herrera, you talk about that. One of the best leadoff hitters in baseball. Peter Bordis at right field. Maikel Franco at third. Freddie Galvis at short. Cesar Hernandez at second base. And Tommy Joseph, a converted catcher, is now playing first. And the veteran Carlos Ruiz will be catching Vince Velasquez.
There is Tommy Joseph, got his first major league hit last night. And the Marlins, a 5-3 win over the Phils, and an opportunity here. Velasquez checks his infield. We're ready to go. Dietrich in the box, Martin Prado, Christian Yelich will follow. And a first pitch fastball is called a strike. Toby Basner calling balls and strikes. Mark Rippinger, Joe West, Andy Fletcher on the bases. Dietrich 0 for 2, but he was on base last night 2 times. Also had a sacrifice fly. And he fouls that back. There are very few people here right now because of awful weather leading up to this game. It rained all afternoon and it stopped about a half an hour ago. So whatever crowd gets here tonight, they will be late arriving.
And last night was a nice, right? Pleasant Monday night.
28,000 last night.
28,000.
Well, dollar hot dogs will do it. Fastball misses in.
It was dollar hot dog night?
It was. Anytime the Fanatic has the hot dog gun on his little Fanatic mobile, that's a sure sign it's dollar hot dog night. Velasquez throws hard. Very athletic right-hander. In fact, on that summer travel team in which he and Yelich were teammates. There you go. Now, I don't think it's a dollar, but they still look good tonight. Velasquez was actually a shortstop on that team in high school. He didn't pitch at the time, and wasn't until he got later in his high school career the Phillies saw him throw. Or actually, the Astros saw him throw.
Second round pick by the Astros in 2010.
Here's a 2-2. Yelich swings, got a piece, and stays alive.
So he pitched a little, some, not really?
He pitched some, and to the extent where he had Tommy John surgery when he was 18. And so after he had Tommy John surgery, he came up in the Astros system. And that's when, of course, the Astros in the offseason wanted to solidify the back of their bullpen. They saw Ken Giles, and they pulled the trigger. Good at bat by Dietrich. It's one thing about Dietrich, you know, in filling the role that D. Gordon had in the leadoff spot, Dietrich in the month of May, his on-base percentage is over 400. He gives you good at-bats. He gets deep in counts. He may not steal bases, but Barry Bonds, Frank Menechino, very happy with Dietrich's work so far. Emergency swing and a flare to left. It falls for a hit. And a base hit for Dietrich. Miami off to a start here in the first. Here comes Martin Prado.
Nice piece of hitting right there. This is a changeup after 4 fastballs, a curveball, then a fastball waste pitch. This is well done. Stays back enough. I know, just throw it into left field, but you got to be balanced enough, and more importantly, keep your hands back and get enough for the barrel on the ball. I know he's saying lucky.
Well, remember the Marlins got to Velasquez early in that start. Christian Yelich hit a 2-run homer. Prado had an RBI double. And Prado settles in, his average at 381. Dietrich not a threat to run, is chased back. Daniel Murphy is still on top of the National League batting race. Prado in the 2 spot. 2 more hits last night. Philly infield looks for 2. One thing we saw from Velasquez in that ball game in Miami, Al, very good at fielding his position, very athletic. Balls in front of the plate, balls up the line. He was quick to get them and made some terrific plays.
Well, you did say he was a shortstop, and I know it was high school, but there's your athleticism. Middle infielder.
Yep. Pitch is out.
Boy, we're seeing a lot about that. You know, I mean, with youth baseball, and I won't go on too much, but, you know, a lot of kids pitching more than they should. Velasquez, DeGrom was a shortstop in college.
Right at Stetson.
And our Jared Kozart. I know he's in the minor leagues, but he was an outfielder.
Yeah, look, I think that adage of just drafting the best athlete available applies. That's a fair ball. It's into the corner. Dietrich is steaming to third. Prado to second. Lenny Harris will hold him. And the Marlins will have runners at second and third. And Martin Prado just continues to hit and hit and hit. That's his 8th double of the season, and this one was smacked hard.
Professional hitter right here. You see the curveball that backs up on the inside part of the plate. That is called a hanger, and a good hitter, a great hitter, Martin Prado, took advantage of it. I was watching Lenny Harris, and it just saw a bit of Dietrich thinking that he was going to go, and I like that in the third base coach, especially early in the game. If there's something questionable, nobody out especially, to hold up a runner. You got a starting pitcher here in Velasquez now reeling. It's nobody out, second and third. Don't run into outs.
And here is Yelich facing Velasquez. Fastball up. Middle infield is back. Joseph is back at first. And Velasquez misses outside. All right, here's the home run that Yelich hit.
First inning. Oh, hitter half. What did you say, 470 feet away?
463. Wow. One of the longest of the year. And of course, Giancarlo Stanton in the same game would go 490 feet to left center. Fastball's out. And it's 3-0. Stanton is on deck. The Dietrich single, Prado's double. Miami trying to get on the board first on a wet night in Philly. Yelich has produced 6 runs in 9 opportunities like this. You saw the major league average for knocking a run home from third with less than 2 outs is right at 50%. 3-1. Yelich hits it hard to short. Dietrich stopped, and the throw to first is in time.
Wow.
I'm not sure what Dietrich was watching, whether he thought that was going to be caught.
Yeah, that could only be it. With the infield back, you see where Freddie Galvis is.
But that ball hits, I mean, a good 20 feet before Galvis.
Yeah, that's a bad base running blunder. That's a mistake by Dietrich. Got the infield back. They're giving up the run. He knows it.
So no RBI, and that puts Stanton in a spot where you need contact. And for Stanton, contact lately has not come easily. He struck out twice last night on an 0 for 3. And he's in a 4 for 34 funk right now. Breaking ball misses out.
Yeah, that's over the last 10 days. Giancarlo, you mentioned that 118 batting average.
Well, you see, first base is open, but you got Bour on deck. And the way the week has gone for Stanton, you're not sure that they're going to pitch around him. They may pitch carefully to him. That fastball catches a corner. It's 1-1.
You know, that's the thing. Even with Stanton struggling, you see the April numbers, and then they dipped here in May. It's still Giancarlo Stanton. He can hit it at any park. He's that much of a feared hitter. And I know he's struggling, and in his last 10 games, it hasn't been good. Dropped his average from 274 to 233 during that span. But with your point, Rich, yes, good pitchers can treat this at bat as it's 0-2 the entire bat, which doesn't mean you're going to throw pitches way off the plate for him to not swing, but make good quality pitches. And if you walk him, all right, you walk him. He's got a double play in order. Force at any base.
Infield back. Fastball up and in. It's 2-1. Velasquez, as you pointed out, his strikeout numbers are very good. 49 punch outs, 43 innings. That fastball's up. So he's gone 3-1 to Giancarlo. Took a rip at the fastball, and it's 3-2.
Yeah, that pitch right there would have been obvious had he thrown something other than a fastball that he was pitching around him. Well, now he can go anywhere. He's got the good curveball. That paint fastball away is tough to hit. Giancarlo missing it, pulling off a little.
See what he gets. 3-2. He struck him out on a fastball, just threw it by him.
Yeah, there's no trickery there. The previous fastball was perfect. Paint down and away, 95. And then watch here, you just see Velasquez will go through the pitch sequence here. First pitch, curveball, started him off, down and away. Paint's outside corner, maybe borderline, and then up and in. That up and in always triggers usually something down and away. You could tell Velasquez is just overthrown a little bit. That pitch there, perfect paint, and then Bayou, 95.
Now Bour. Man, what looked to be a great inning for the Marlins. Starting out second and third and nobody out. The key play, obviously, is Yelich driving the ball to short and Dietrich not budging from third. And Bour takes a fastball that's up. Bour last night homering out into center field, actually a little bit left center field. A similar spot in which on Saturday he blasted one out in Washington. And he fouls that back, and Velasquez right now is pretty simple.
Well, even last night with the win by the Marlins, they had a few opportunities, lost opportunities in their 5-3 win. Runners in scoring position last night, they were 2 for 10. They had 12 left on base. And, early in the game, especially, you get a run, you got to push them, especially against a tough pitcher.
Breaking ball popped up. Third base side should be playable. Franco is there, and he makes the catch, and the Marlins get nothing out of what looked like a promising first. And the Phillies lineup looks this way. The Phillies brought to you by UHealth Sports Medicine. Odubel Herrera in center. Cesar Hernandez at second. Maikel Franco at third. Tommy Joseph gets the start, and he's moved up to the cleanup spot, trading places with Carlos Ruiz. Freddie Galvis switch hitting shortstop. Tyler Goodell with a nice night last night, had 3 hits. Vince Velasquez, the pitcher, hits 8. Peter Borges is in the 9 spot to face Wei-Yin Chen.
Yeah, Wei-Yin Chen coming off a career high tied 12 strikeouts against the Brew Crew. You see his numbers. He's been good of late. Let's take a look at the scouting report on Wei-Yin Chen. This is his 8th start of the year. 4 quality pitches. He does it. Fastball, slider, change, curveball in that order. Quality and quality. Other than the start against Velasquez, he gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. He's been good in his others. And then he's one of 2 Chinese Taipei pitchers to pitch over 100 career big league starts. He has 125 now starts. And Chien-Ming Wang used to pitch with the Yankees. He's now in the bullpen with the Kansas City Royals. Has 126 big league starts.
Chen, of course, went from Taiwan to Japan. He pitched in Japan before arriving in Baltimore. He throws a strike to Odubel Herrera, who is a bundle of energy in that leadoff spot. His on-base percentage sits at a lofty .453. That's second in the National League to Bryce Harper. And Chen gets a strike. That's 1-2. Now, the last time Wei-Yin Chen was on the mound, he racked up a dozen strikeouts that tied his career high. Pitched into the 7th and beat the Brewers. And Herrera swings and misses, and already a strikeout from Chen. Now, what was different about that last start from the lefty?
You know what? Just looking at that pitch, Rich, he throws a slider and a curve. There's a difference between when you throw a breaking ball. Now, that pitch out of his hand, Herrera is a heck of a player. I think right now he's their best player. You mentioned about on base. That was a feeble hack. Made him look not like a big league hitter. I think for Chen, especially with left-handers.
Chen guys the bunt, and he throws out Cesar Hernandez.
To be able to throw inside, not only to stand a lefty up, but to throw in for a strike. And once that happens, because most left-handed hitters, when they're facing left-handed pitchers, look for what? Something out over the plate, because some kind of breaking ball is going to go away. We talked about it last night with Adam Conley. He's a fastball slider change, and the reason why left-handers, I believe, are hitting Conley at a, 370 clip last night, you eliminate one of your pitches. Change-ups, you don't often see lefty pitchers throw change-ups to left-handed hitters. And when Conley, I know, that was last night, good first pitch curveball, get me over. Trust that pitch to pitch against left-handers as well. Boy, I mean, that's just going to even open it up even more for that young man.
Maikel Franco, third baseman for the Phils.
And it's always been, Rich, that the changeup, he pitched a good ball game last night. You see his numbers really tack the hitters. And I love what Adam Conley did last night of pounding the right-handers. And you don't see that often. Here comes one in here now. Up slider.
Liner to center. Ozuna lines it up and makes the catch. And an 8-pitch first inning for Wei-Yin Chen. To the second in Philly. Scoreless emails and tweets coming up.
Philadelphia, where it is also a Twitter and email Tuesday driven by Ford. And tonight, it's all about the NL East. Who's having a breakout season? What has surprised you about the division so far? Tell us what you think. Send those tweets to @FoxMarlins. Your emails can go to foxmarlins@gmail.com. And don't forget to use tonight's hashtag NL East. Guys?
All right, driven by Ford. Thank you, Jessica. Vince Velasquez, Marcell Ozuna. And a fastball. Ozuna goes after it and hits a high fly ball into that left field corner, and it's into the seats. Pretty easy to get a souvenir tonight on this rainy day.
Get a few.
Yeah. And Ozuna stands back in. Ozuna set the tone last night with a long home run, excuse me, 434 feet to left center field. And that got Miami started on a 1-0 lead and ended in a 5-3 win.
Extended his hitting streak 16 games.
Longest in the National League. Here it was, and there it went.
Oh, hum, baby. Get on the board. Is he locked in? One of several Marlin hitters.
Another fastball. In terms of bat speed, Ozuna probably has the best bat speed on the Marlins. Inside pitches, it's tough to throw a fastball in on him where he doesn't get around on it. Scouts always marvel at that bat speed, so it's fun to watch him against a guy like Velasquez, who, when he got in trouble in the first inning, just reared back and started bringing the heat. You see a couple hits in that meeting in Miami. There's the slider, and it darts outside. Yeah, 16 straight, and he's hit .415 with 5 home runs over those 16 games. Danny Echeverria and Jeff Mathis will follow here in the second in Philly. There's the hands that get through and pull that thing foul. Miami, with their finish in Washington, D.C., getting the second game of the doubleheader Saturday and then winning on Sunday, have now won 3 straight. Two. That's in.
Velasquez, that previous pitch with the changeup. Ozuna fighting it off. He's showing all of his pitches here. This kid could settle in. Marlins let him off the hook last inning.
8th pitch of the at bat. And Ozuna pulls a breaking ball. It looks like Ozuna's on it right now.
Well, he's one of the hotter hitters in the league. You cited the numbers over the last couple weeks now, really. You ride the wave. I mean, hitting is streaky. The better hitters stay out of slumps. Fighting here. And you see it. I don't know, Rich, I know you've done a lot of big league games, but, you know, it doesn't take much. You don't have to go down and talk to a guy and see where his vibe is. You could see his mojo, his look, the rhythm and his cadence and his walk. Like, he looks good. And conversely, I could say that because member facing guys, I didn't have to really see what the numbers were. You could see how guys' disposition and demeanor from the on deck circle to the batter's box in the at bat itself.
6 foul balls in this at bat. And there's the 7th. Now, the Marlins didn't get a run in the first, but one thing they did do is they pushed Velasquez's pitch count up, and Ozuna has brought it to 35 already. The first hitter of the second inning. How about that?
Wow.
Marcell Ozuna works the walk to lead off the second, and we throw out our first tweet of the night. It's from Kevin, who wants to know, Al, what was your pregame meal before you pitched your no-hitter with the Fish?
Oh, the no-hitter. I was going to say chicken rigatoni alla vodka at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I had Chinese food on Broward Boulevard in Plantation. I don't know the name of the Chinese restaurant. I always had pasta and chicken of some sort, usually Italian, and the place was closed, Rich.
It was closed?
My wife and I pulled up, and I said, oh, my, what am I going to do? Because that was tragic. I was very superstitious.
All right, maybe a good follow-up is, where did you eat for your next start?
I ate there.
Yeah.
No. My next start was at Chicago against the Cubs. When we came back to Miami, I went back to the Chinese place. I don't know. I know I didn't eat there often, so it must have been very good. Not the food, but my next start.
Echeverria takes a strike.
That, by the way, that was a heck of a bat by Marcell Ozuna. 11 pitch, fighting off some tough pitches from Velasquez. Good at bat.
Now, Echeverria came to life last night with 3 hits. He was 3 for 5. And he dribbles that one foul up the line. And this is a ballpark, for whatever reason, that Echeverria has really liked over his career. We talked about that big 7 RBI game he had in 2013. He hit a grand slam in that game. In his last 7 games here in Philly, he's close to 500. There's the career numbers in 23 games here. Ozuna away from first.
And if you know, again, this game being mental, and Echeverria has not really found his mojo. You remember what 0-2 pitch? He went the other way, just kind of out in front. Actually pulled it. He was out in front and fooled on a curveball, and then he proceeded to hit a double and a single after that.
High fastball, and he chased it. That seems to be Velasquez's pitch of choice so far, with 2 strikes.
You know, with 2 strikes, it's hard, right? You got the strike zone, and then you elevate higher than high, and that's the whole point of it. Not off the plate, because hitters can see out of hand, oh, that ball's away, or out of hand, that ball's in. But when you have a pitch that's elevated, you see on the Fox tracks, it's clearly up out of the zone, tough to lay off, especially if you got a guy that's struggling, generally speaking, doesn't have a really good idea of the strike zone. And it's emergency hat. For 90-mile-an-hour fastball, you have 0.438 of a second to react.
Mathis, and he takes a breaking ball for a strike. Jeff getting the start tonight. Remember, tomorrow is a day game, and so you would expect JT Realmuto will start tomorrow afternoon. And so Don Mattingly wanted to give Mathis one of the 2 games, decides to give him tonight, Realmuto tomorrow.
Tommy Kohler tomorrow night, or tomorrow afternoon, against Jeremy Hellickson. Guy played with the pitch with the Rays for several years.
That's a 1 o'clock start. 12:30 for Marlins Live. Ozuna still at first. Mathis with Chen on deck. That's 1-2.
Got away with one there. That's a hanging changeup down the middle. But even there, 88 miles an hour. Just, you know, the stuff that Velasquez possesses, 94, 95 miles an hour with his fastball, and then 88 on his changeup.
Velasquez thought he had a strikeout, and he had good reason to. That's right on the black. In fact, it's got more than just the black. So a break for Mathis. Still in the at bat.
Changeup.
A right on right changeup. More righty on righty changeups than lefty on lefty changeups, or is it the ratio the same?
No, that's a good question, and I'd like to pull up the statistics or the research on that. I think just generally speaking, the down and in has always been viewed as the nitro zone for left-handed hitters, and I think left-handed pitchers, that's the effect of that pitch, to be down and in.
Breaking ball, Mathis fouls it back.
And I think that's always been the the trepidation on whether a left-hander would feel comfortable throwing what would be potentially his third pitch. Now, I played with Tom Glavine and seen him do it for years. I mean, Tommy, lefty, righty, didn't matter. He was a fastball changeup pitcher. Jamie Moyer, but you know, if that's your repertoire, then you can't eliminate your main out pitch.
Ozuna staying busy over there. Vince Velasquez has thrown 45 pitches. Wei-Yin Chen has thrown 8.
It's great. You know what? This guy's tough. And in this day and age of 100 pitch count, bells going off, and everybody's running, trying to get some reliever up. Get his pitch count up.
2-2, and he strikes out Mathis. And so there are 2 outs. Now, this at bat shouldn't take that long.
That's just, here it is, hit it. You can't center cut it anymore. But in Mathis' defense, I mean, he saw 2 changeups and 2 breaking balls leading up to that pitch. And it's got electric stuff, plus velocity from Velasquez.
Wei-Yin Chen is 0 for 20 in his major league career. And you see in the season he's 0 for 14. So Chen has got a little grin on his face.
He's like, do I have to swing at this?
Did not have to hit much at all, obviously, in Baltimore. So he figures he tried to bunt. That's not a bad idea. Counts 0-2.
Hey, as somebody who was awful, swing. Something good could happen, maybe.
How many career hits?
I don't know, but I was terrible. Yeah, I could bunt, but forget about it. Hitting.
Chen swings and misses. Ball gets loose. And Ruiz is going to toss it down to first and get the out. So Velasquez strikes out 3. Miami leaves another runner, and it's still scoreless. Phillies scoreless. Marlins and Phils. A little chilly, a little wet here. Marlins defense brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Outfield of Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, Giancarlo Stanton, Martin Prado, Justin Bour on the corners. Derek Dietrich and Eddie Echeverria up the middle. Jeff Mathis behind the plate. And this legal reminder, selfies are okay, but the telecast is presented by the authority of the Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. Accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. It is an email Twitter Tuesday. Ed, who is our
Yes, love Ed.
Eddie Svita, our Baseball historian points out that you were 45 for 530, 085, 7 doubles. You did have a triple in your career.
You know who that was against?
No. Who?
The Marlins.
Really?
And you know who threw it? Brad Penny, when he was throwing like 100. That's what I'm saying, Rich. Swing the bat. What's the old saying about Babe Ruth? Can't hit a home run with the bat on your shoulder or something like that?
That's true. All right, here's Tommy Joseph. He did not keep the bat on his shoulder last night. He lined one into center.
So you ask my first hit in the big leagues.
Your first hit in the big leagues.
Here in Philadelphia, behind us, what would be now the parking lot at the old Vet. In 1993, I was in the World Series against the Phillies with the Blue Jays. I came out of the bullpen, and the first pitch thrown by Roger Mason, I hit a double to left field. I run to second base. It's game 4. Todd Stottlemyre started the game. He didn't do well. I came in. I didn't do well. We won 15-14. John Kruk trailers the play to second base, and he's saying all sorts of funny things that I can't say on the air.
That one's hit hard and deep and down the line and gone off the foul pole. Tommy Joseph got his first big league hit yesterday. He gets his first big league home run tonight.
Well, they're trying to find him a spot to get him some at-bats at the big league level. Big prospect. Had some concussion issues as a catcher here at first base. This looked like a fastball that just didn't get in enough. I thought it was pretty good pitch, not good enough. That ball was down and in, but not in enough. Wow. He pulled his hands in. That's a line drive.
Here is Carlos Ruiz. And he pulls it foul. That was a 1-2 pitch to Tommy Joseph. And so the Marlins, who had that great opportunity in the first, slipped through their hands. Now trail at 1-0. Wei-Yin Chen has allowed 6 home runs this year. And a breaking ball for a strike. So Kruk is trailing you.
Yeah, if you're telling a story like that and then a guy hits a bomb, you know, ruin the whole story.
I know. Never happens to Vin Scully. Right? Happens to us.
Oh, nice play
by Chen and an underhand flip.
Just all right, I'm done. But the luck of it all. I didn't have an at-bat. So Krucky says, watch the play right here. This athleticism squares up enough to home plate. That is the key for any pitcher. Make sure after you release, whatever your delivery is, but try to be square to home and give you a chance to fill that middle of the field hole, which is the biggest hole for the infielders. Well, now with overshifting. So Krucky's starting to yell at me because he wasn't doing so well. And I said, I know, John, I can't believe it. I haven't had an at-bat in 10 years since high school. And then you should have heard John Kruk, because he was like batting $1 something through 4 games in the World Series. And it's true.
To right, Stanton has it. Sliding catch by Giancarlo Stanton. Terrific play in right. Wei-Yin Chen sure enjoyed it. And he robs Freddie Galvis of extra bases.
Nice play. Ball hung up there long enough for Giancarlo to catch that ball. I thought that ball was going to be sinking a little faster. Well done. 2 nice plays. One by the Chen and here by Stanton. You betcha.
There's Tyler Goeddel. 3 hits for Goeddel yesterday. Stanton still shaking off the remnants of the collision on Sunday. And Marcell Ozuna flipped shins, according to both of them. And that spilled them, Stanton, into the wall, which was in front of the scoreboard in Washington, D.C. It's actually a cyclone fence. Still didn't feel great. And Ozuna banged his head on the warning track. But they played last night. Ozuna, of course, homered last night. Stanton homered in his at-bat after the collision. And Ozuna hit a line drive single right after the collision. Busted bat. Prado approaches. and gets the out. But Tommy Joseph leaves the yard. And the rookie's homer. It's 1-0 Philly. Chrysler is the presenting sponsor of Miami Marlins baseball. Tommy Joseph, who struggled for the last couple of years to just get on the field in the minor leagues. A catcher had suffered for 2 seasons through concussions, has finally arrived in Philly and impacted this game. And here's Derek Dietrich, who would like another crack at that first inning. Dietrich was at third base, Prado at second. There was nobody out. Infield was back. And Christian Yelich had a sharp one-hopper at the shortstop, and Dietrich hesitated and did not run home. Freddie Galvis threw to first and just got Yelich. And then Vince Velasquez did the rest. He struck out Giancarlo Stanton and got Justin Bour to pop out. And Miami had nothing to show for a single by Dietrich and the double by Prado. Counts 2-1. Change up. Dietrich into right center field. Herrera charges and makes the catch. Our emails and tweets. Al, we got some. This is from Luis. Wants to know, why is Stanton the cleanup hitter if he's in a 4 for 34 funk? And Ozuna is in the 6th spot with a 16-game hitting streak. Why, says Lewis?
Well, listen, first of all, Giancarlo Stanton, if the Marlins are going to do anything this year, he's your guy. Now, could Don Mattingly or do managers tinker once in a while? I'm a believer, unless it's really affecting him greatly. I mean, didn't he have a home run in the National Series?
Yeah, Sunday.
Yeah. Who's the fellow who did the tweet?
Lewis.
Lewis. Yeah, I mean, come on, man. That guy right there is one of the most prolific home run hitters. Yes, I know he's striking out. He's swinging at a lot of pitches out of the zone, but no, you keep him right there. Now, if this is 2 months and he's batting a buck, you might want to play around. He'll get out of it. The last thing you want to do is for your everyday players, your stars. Giancarlo Stanton is a star of this game. To come into this, to whatever field and look to see where he's batting in the lineup. No, bad idea. But I hear what you're saying, because there are guys. But like last night, there were 5 RBIs from 5 different players. This is a lineup right now. If the Marlins are going to win, they're going to need contributions from everywhere. But that young man right there standing next to Barry Bonds, they're going to need him to be the guy that he is. Hit home runs and play terrific defense. Put the ball in play more. You know, your home run guys have higher strikeout totals. He'll figure it out.
But thanks for the email, Lewis. Benjamin, one of our Texas fans, with an email. Foul back. Of the 4 NL East teams that have been successful at the start of the season, who will be able to sustain that success moving forward?
For as much as I love what the Phillies have done, I just don't believe that this is a team that can go from 99 losses last year, basically unload the team that you had the last few years and compete. I don't believe it. The Marlins are better than the Phillies. We know that the Braves have been a serious rebuild. I think the Marlins are going to make it interesting, and in my opinion, I said it in March, that they are going to be a team that's going to be looking as one of the potential wildcard teams. The superior teams, Mets and the Nationals. Look, the Mets run out 4 ace starters every night.
That right there hasn't happened in a long time, and that's a strikeout of Martin Prado. He had gone 59 consecutive at-bats without a strikeout.
And I had the same stat, and I didn't want to say it because I didn't want to be the guy to jinx it, but yes, that was impressive. 59 at-bats, consecutive at-bats, until what you just saw there, swing and a miss by Martin Prado, strikeout. That's a heck of a streak. You talk about a guy putting the ball in play.
So here's Yelich now, who bounced out back in the first. Remember, we told you that Vince Velasquez and Christian Yelich played high school travel ball together. No roller up the line, and it's foul. And during that discussion on Giancarlo Stanton, we saw the graphic that showed home run rate, and I was thinking to myself, oh yeah, there was someone else on that team right in the middle. Nolan Arenado was also on that team.
On the travel team.
On the travel
with
team.
Yelich and Velasquez. Wow. They had to win a lot of games.
Talented group, and of course Stanton from that area as well. One of Stanton's summer travel team teammates was Freddie Freeman of the Atlanta Braves. Stanton did not play a lot of elite travel baseball. He was, of course, playing football and basketball at Notre Dame High School. Yelich takes out. Obviously frustrating for Yelich, because in that first inning at bat, he's just worried about hitting the ball up the middle, putting it in play. He got a ball to do it. He did it, and the Marlins didn't get the run. Change up. Yelich drills it to left, hits it deep. Herrera back at the wall, and he won't get it. It bangs off the wall, still on the track. Yelich on his way to third, and he's going to hold there with a triple. In that little corner that gets to 387, Herrera ventured in. He stayed, and the ball came out.
Hanging changeup here. Takes a little off, but now just to show you the power of Yelich. That ball is supposed to get a hitter out front. He was not. Yelich was not. Nice effort by Herrera. Or was really actually missed. I thought that was higher up on the wall. It hit on the bottom of the wall. First triple on the year for Christian Yelich. Nice, smooth swing, level swing.
And here is Velasquez simply challenging Stanton with a fastball. He struck him out on a fastball in the first. That one misses out, and it's 1-1. So Yelich is standing at third. He's 90 feet away. There are 2 outs. In this spot, it's been a struggle this year.
I don't know where he stands in the box usually, but that ball, it looks like a nice swing. He's just missing it. That ball on the outside corner.
Fastball away at 96.
You know, I know big guys like extension. They don't want to get jammed. So generally speaking, you'll see a big hitter like Stanton stand off the plate a little bit. But you got to be able to reach this outside corner line. Looks like his nice, good, aggressive swing's not reaching it.
2-2 did not go. Philly fan can't believe it. Here's a look. It's close. Slider misses and Stanton walks. And if you're looking for a ray of sunshine, when Stanton starts to come out of it, the walks come first. There it is. See, there's the ray of sunshine.
The very small ray of sunshine. We had cloud and rain all day today.
So a walk for Stanton.
Yeah, it starts with a walk, right? Good eye. You see the pitches.
Yep.
It looks like this just pounding him away, away, away.
Bohr takes a changeup that misses out. Now Bohr popped out. That ended the first. Yelich and Stanton at the corners. And that fastball is a strike. This looked like it could be a quick pitch inning for Velasquez, but the triple by Yelich and then the walk by Stanton. Look at this. 23 more pitches this inning, 72 already. He is not shy about throwing his fastball.
Over 70% clip, which is league average is slightly above 60%. Most major leaguers, if you look at their ratio of pitches, it's about 60-ish, 61, 62. You see the 95-mile-an-hour plus pitches, about 13 of them?
Yeah, most major league pitchers don't have that.
Right.
Big breaking ball, and Bohr strikes out, and Miami leads 2 more and trails it in Philly 1-0. You know, the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Even on a rainy night, there's some sun in Philadelphia. Private suite. When Al Leiter goes to games, he's not sitting in a private suite. But you can. I wrote that today, by the way. Suites accommodate groups from 16 to 60 guests. Offer VIP service. Feature food and beverage options. Book your suite today, 1-877-MARLINS. Go to marlins.com/suites. You can have a suite for a single game.
Sweet.
There you go. All right, here's Velasquez, and don't sleep on him. He can hit. A strike. He already has 4 hits this year. He's 4 for 14.
Batting 8th, which is unusual.
Well, it wouldn't be unusual if he were just say a right fielder. He's hitting better than Peter Bourjos, the number 9 hitter. Bourjos hitting at 198.
And last night, Jared Eichhoff, the starting pitcher for the Phils, was batting .231.
Velasquez, Bourjos, Odubel Herrera, 8-9-1 in the Phillies order.
Well, pitchers are definitely better hitters now than they once were. You agree with that? For the most part?
Swing and a miss. Not sure. Let me think on that
Mull
one.
on that one.
All right. And by the way, Al, if you can't watch the game on TV, you can stream it live on your mobile device with the new Fox Sports Go app. It's the app that'll take Fox Sports Florida and the Marlins with you wherever you go. Now, I mean, I think back into when there was no designated hitter, early 70s. You had guys like, I think the modern day best hitting pitcher is Madison Bumgarner, correct? For power and all of that.
I don't know, is he? I'm gonna have to pull that one up. There's a lot. There's a lot of guys that can hit.
Right, but I would say a guy back in that 70s era. There's Jose's numbers. He had a big hit in his win. Was Ken Brett, George's older brother.
No, there's no question, guys. You could pull out a few guys. I played with the Yankees, and Billy Martin was my manager, and he had Rick Rhoden penciled in as a DH one day.
Right. Well, Dontrelle Willis for the Marlins had always had some big hits. Hit some huge homers in New York at the old Shea Stadium.
But I have a theory, and I do believe, and it's just my observation, that the pitchers are better because of travel ball, because of more kids playing or shortstops and outfielders, etc. But more than that, Rich, when I played and I came up, I was an American League minor leaguer with the Yankees. Here's a pitch down the way to Peter Bourjos. Let's see the paint. Boom. Perfect location. How do our Fox tracks get it? I mean, that was paint. If that got the corner, that is knee high. I know Peter Bourjos didn't like it.
Did you see that same Philly fan reacted, the guy with the coat with his arms up? He's becoming a regular. Anytime there's a call that does not look like it went the Phillies' way, he's up.
Yeah, well, I think he had an argument, right? I think we had it outside a little.
There he is. Philly fan getting text from family saying, hey, calm down.
I didn't hit. Didn't hit. National League, you're always DHing. You're always in a DH park, and I think the guys hit more coming up.
Bouncer to Dietrich, who gets the out at first. And Wei-Yin Chen outside of the Tommy Joseph homer. 1-0 Phillies. On top, it's the 4th. As well, it's time for our cold hard facts, brought to you by Coors Light. All-time opponents. RBIs in a game at Citizens Bank Park. We talked about Echeverria and his 7. He's joined by Aramis Ramirez, Jason Giambi, Billy Butler, and Ryan Braun. That was a Roy Halladay start, I've been informed. That stuff I don't remember, but glad to have the help. Marcell Ozuna faces Vince Velasquez. 6 strikeouts. Ozuna walked an epic walk, 11-pitch walk back in the 2nd. And he pulls that one foul. Miami's had opportunities. 2nd and 3rd, nobody out in the 1st, didn't score. Ozuna leadoff walk in the 2nd. Velasquez then struck out the next 3. Yelich tripled, but that was with 2 outs. And after Stanton walked, Velasquez struck out Justin Bour. And it seems like when he's needed it, Velasquez has been able to dial up a strikeout.
He's starting to sprinkle in that changeup there, back-to-back changeups to Ozuna. Yeah, Velasquez has shown absolute plus velocity and a curve. This guy's tough. And then you go changeup 84, and then that 94 looks like 104. The importance for pitchers to change speeds. Locate a fastball. And if you have a superior fastball as Velasquez, it makes it that much tougher to square up and change speeds with your off-speed stuff. In his case, curveball changeup.
Breaking ball up. So this is the 6th pitch of this at bat to Ozuna. And he sends it to right, hits it pretty well. Borges is back at the track, and he makes the catch. And so an out in the 4th. Well, let's turn the clock back to Roy Halladay and Adeiny Echeverria. This was before replay for everything, and the only replay was for home runs. Remember, the umpires would go down in the little tunnel, watch the TV.
God, it seems so archaic, huh?
It does. There's Etch now with 1 out. Jason has this tweet. Will Comcast ever stream Fox Sports Florida, or do I have to find a way around the blackout on my MLB.TV? Jason, Fox Sports Go. Download the app, and on your device, your tablet, your laptop, you can stream the game live on Fox Sports Go, wherever you go. So there you go. That's new this year.
There you go, Rich, helping out. Fella get online.
That's why we're here. David has this question. What's D. Gordon doing on his suspension? Is he allowed to travel or work out with the team? I had a chance to talk to Michael Hill 4 or 5 days ago. Gordon will start doing some workouts. He can work out at the ballpark, but not when there are fans in the ballpark. He cannot compete during his suspension. He cannot compete in an organized game, so he can't go down and play in the minor leagues. So the Marlins will try to ramp him up when his suspension is over. That one foul back. Speaking of suspensions, Major League Baseball handed down suspensions in that Blue Jays Rangers fracas, and as expected, Rougned Odor is the leader on the scorecard. 8-game suspension for Odor for his punch, maybe the throw as well, with Jose Bautista at second base. Bautista was suspended, but only 1 game. John Gibbons, who was ejected earlier in the game and then came back on the field, 3 games. Another strikeout for Velasquez. By now, it's the punch heard round baseball and the sports world.
He got him. Beltre helped him out, but he got a little woozy there.
Yeah, so that's 8 games.
Were you surprised? I was a little surprised.
That he got 8 games?
Yeah, I thought more.
I was in the 7 to 10 range. It was, I want to say, Michael Barrett when he punched
Pierzynski.
There you go.
10 games.
A.J. Pierzynski got 10 games. That was almost 3 seasons ago. Mathis up with 2 outs, the count 0-1. And it's 0-2. Also, Elvis Andrus got a 1-game suspension. He came in and threw a punch, and I'm not sure who he threw the punch at, but he was suspended for 1 game. Many guys were fined and ejected from that game, which results in a fine as well. 1-2 the count to Mathis. Mathis would love to get on. You've got Chen on deck. You'd rather not start the 5th inning with Chen leading off. And down goes Mathis. Vince Velasquez got good stuff, but a high pitch count. It's 1-0 Phils. The all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica. By Checkers, fast foodies know the deal. And by your South Florida BMW Centers. Rainy day and a soggy night in Philadelphia. Wei-Yin Chen and Vince Velasquez matched up on an email and Twitter Tuesday, driven by your South Florida Ford dealers. Patrick has this tweet. What happened to the Phillies speed gun guy behind home plate? Now, if you watch Marlins baseball in years past, the Phillies here at Citizens Bank Park had an employee, and he was a baseball guy, a guy that had played in college and knew what he was looking for, sitting behind home plate with a speed gun and a walkie-talkie. And when the pitch would come across, he would clock it on his gun and then call up to the scoreboard where they would put the right about in there. You would see him. And then up on the scoreboard, he would tell him, hey, slider at 88, and they pop that up right away. He's not there tonight, and I'll have to ask, but my guess is with StatCast, now that's done for him. StatCast is in every major league ballpark. It's a series of high-def cameras that pick up every movement of player, pitch, and hit, like that one off the bat of Cesar Hernandez.
Well, I guess you could say, Rich, finally they have tracked, documented every single pitch thrown, location, and it's another part of why the game has gotten better. Is that the radar gun there, presumably?
I don't think so. Breaking ball, a strike. Maikel Franco. Franco hits it deep, center field. Ozuna back at the track, has room and makes the catch.
Just off the end of the bat, you see Chen upset with himself. Fastball up and away. Franco, yeah, let's see here. See the ball just away, pulled off a little bit, just enough for Chen. He thought he got it all. Perfect location for the Marlins' sake up there, right up against 409 feet.
Remember last night, it was a sacrifice fly that came within a few feet of tying the game in the 9th inning. Franco hit that one as well. And that one pulled foul. Again, the discrepancy here as far as the pitch count is significant. The Phillies do have a 1-0 lead, but Chen has been much more economical. That's his 40th pitch. Velasquez has 91, and this was Tommy Joseph down the left field line. And that's it. That's the difference in the game. Joseph's first major league hit was last night. That is first major league homer, and he drives one to right. And so Philly fans who have been kind of re-energized by this season and the start have to like what they see from Joseph.
Yeah, mistake up out over the plate, but nice job of hitting by Tommy Joseph going the other way. 0-2 count. As a pitcher, you have 2 pitches to throw the pitcher's pitch, which is generally something that looks like a strike but off the plate.
Ruiz bounced out back in the 2nd. The pitch is out. Sebastian from Miami. As you see, the bullpen is up already for the Phillies. I did not know that the Ibis could type, but way to go, Sebastian. When is the return of Mike Dunn? How does that affect the bullpen? Well, it adds depth, certainly. Mike Dunn, I believe, is about 2 weeks away. That one pulled foul. Edwin Jackson, I think, is closer. Edwin Jackson has a possibility this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend I heard. That's what I heard.
Of joining that bullpen. It adds depth, certainly. Both those guys. Dunn adds a lefty, which the Marlins don't have in their pen. Although, let me amend that. The Marlins added Harlan Garcia, the lefty, who has not pitched yet. He's down there for long relief. The Marlins have been operating before he arrived. Chen misses down low. So that would be the effect. You add Dunn, you add Edwin Jackson. Jackson gives you someone who can give you multiple innings. Marlins really, Garcia's kind of that guy right now, but he's here on a sort of temporary leave. And Dunn gives you a veteran lefty who can pitch at the back end, 7th and 8th inning. To right, that's pretty well hit. Stanton at the track makes the catch. A couple of warning track shots from the Phillies, but still a 1-0 game.
Park, where it is a 1-0 ball game in the 5th inning. It is a Twitter and email Tuesday driven by Ford. Keep those tweets and emails coming. Tweets can go to @FoxMarlins. Emails can go to foxmarlins@gmail.com. And don't forget to use that hashtag NLEast. Earlier, we threw out the question, who has been one of the breakout players in the division? And some of the answers I've seen: Odubel Herrera, Daniel Murphy, and Noah Syndergaard. As far as the Marlins go, a lot of you are giving love to Christian Yelich, Marcell Ozuna, even JT Realmuto and David Phelps. Remember, use that hashtag NLEast on all of your tweets and emails tonight.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Wei-Yin Chen fouls it back. Chen may have busted his bat.
Yes, he did.
You remember Chen thought he had a hit a few starts ago. He hit a ball to short that was bobbled and kicked, and he ended up getting to first. And first it was called an error, then it was switched to a hit. He asked for the ball, right? But it was such a bad call, you knew it would get reversed. And they did reverse it. It went back to an error.
And he threw the ball back in.
They threw the ball into the stands from the dugout. He still doesn't have a major league hit. MLB.Premium is the #1 live streaming sports service available. Every out-of-market game is live in HD on over 400 supported devices. MLB.TV Premium includes a free subscription to At-Bat Premium, the #1 app for live baseball. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. There's joy in Mudville tonight. The Sixers apparently won the lottery, the NBA lottery. They have the #1 pick. So all that losing paid off for the Sixers. How about that?
Wow. Well, I mean, if they didn't, I mean, I would think that they'd have to blow up that whole lottery thing, right? How many wins did they have?
10, I believe.
10 wins.
Yes. Dietrich now. You got Dietrich and Prado. Now the Phillies have 2 relievers up and ready to go, as Velasquez has hit 99 pitches with this one. Dietrich pulls one foul wide of first. And it looks like Pete McCann had wanted options if Velasquez got in some trouble and had to face Yelich and Stanton or something to that effect, because those guys have been up and ready. You see Bob McClure, the pitching coach for the Phillies, behind McCannon. That fastball, that high fastball, has been really tough for Marlin hitters tonight. That's 10 strikeouts.
And it's hard to lay off. The curveball down, and again, it's plate coverage, but upstairs, tough to lay off. And he's got that little extra giddy up at 94 to 95 miles an hour. You got defense, kind of 2-strike protect mode, and several of these Marlin hitters just couldn't lay off of it. You know, we talk often about keeping the ball down. Yes, there's no question about it. When you talk in the zone, low pitches, if I do that down in the knee area, you'll generally get ground balls. But higher than high, if you got aggressive hitters, some of them will swing at it. So far tonight against Velasquez, there's been a few of the Marlin hitters to go for it.
Prado now, and just to show you how good Velasquez is tonight, he struck out Martin Prado. Prado to left down the line, and not that foul, but it bounces into the seats. Prado had not struck out in 59 consecutive at bats, and that included his double in the first. But Velasquez got him in the 30. Prado is the toughest to strike out in the National League, as you can see. Joseph. And Velasquez, probably his last inning, goes 1-2-3, halfway through, 1-0 Phils. Greater coverage of baseball is brought to you by T-Mobile. Freddie Gonzalez relieved of his managing duties, certainly with a team that does not have a chance to compete this year. And Freddie, one of the guys we like, and we hope that he bounces back from that. Garrett Richards is not going to have Tommy John surgery. Instead, he's going for stem cell therapy, trying to avoid that surgery. And the late Hall of Famer Joe Garagiola honored in a ceremony down in Arizona. Breaking ball strike to Freddie Galvis. I suspect the Marlins have seen the last of Vince Velasquez. But we'll see if he comes back out.
Boy, you know, I know that's where we are, Rich, but 103 pitches, really dominating.
Here's the odd thing now. The Phillies had 2 relievers up, both when the Phillies were hitting and then when the Marlins were hitting. And now no one is up in that bullpen.
But they're hot.
They're
so it doesn't
hot.
take much for these guys to get ready.
Yeah.
Velasquez is in the hole, so we'll see what happens when it's his turn to hit.
Galvis takes a fastball that misses. Tyler Goodell, and then that pitcher spot. Wei-Yin Chen very comfortable at 51 pitches. Soft fly, left field. Yelich off his glove. Galvis running and getting to second.
I thought that you see that little hesitation by Yelich, and he kind of was paused, and that little pause there cost him to catch it. Good effort right at the very start of that. He paused, wasn't sure, and then got on his horse and wasn't able to make the catch. Watch here. Maybe we can see in the top left corner here. You see, it takes a one little quick step back and then goes for it. And even with his speed, wasn't able to make the catch.
So Galvis with a bloop double. Here's Goodell. Emmanuel Burris is on deck in Velasquez's spot. It's 0-1 on the Rule 5 draft pick. Phillies left fielder had 3 hits last night.
Nice. Good combination. The effectiveness of a good changeup, and good changeups are exceptional arm speed. It looks just like a fastball, except anywhere from 7-8 miles an hour slower. Juan Nieves, the pitching coach, looking on.
What a great resource for Chen to work with a lefty in Nieves. Busted bat, good pitch. Prado looks the runner back and gets the out. That's exactly what you want. You want to keep Galvis at second. And Chen did that, and he got an out.
Well, the fastball, then the changeup away, and this is the body line. It's very tough for hitters. He's trying the whole time. A productive out would be hit the ball the right side. Good pitch, great location. Nice job by Prado, and also Echeverria going over to third base just in case if Galvis thought about going to third. Nice job.
All right, here's Burris, who pinch hit last night, and Velasquez done in by his pitch count. 103 pitches through 5 innings, 10 strikeouts. Pinch a Penny brings you this pinch hitter, and it's Burris. You've got Borges on deck. Popped up, Bohr giving chase, and it's into the seats. Matt with a tweet suggesting that Jose Bautista start wearing the helmet and mask of Giancarlo Stanton with that little guard on the. That would have worked, right?
Yeah, if he was right. Wearing it, slide into second base.
I think if you're going to run into Rougned Odor, you probably want one of those Also, if you run into Rougned Odor,
Duck.
well, you might want to be aware of his patented move. If you go back and look at that brawl from the minor leagues,
Right.
is it's sort of the chest-to-chest push followed by the right hand.
Jab, too. Good.
Come up with a defense for that.
He did have an incident, and he was the runner that slid in a minor league game. I think it was in Calgary or somewhere.
Spokane.
And popped up and did the exact same thing.
Burris with the count 0-2. Galvis the runner at second. And Chen spins around. Were you surprised at what happened to Freddie Gonzalez?
You know, I've been hearing about the grumblings, right?
I mean, look, it's almost an impossible situation for a manager. I mean, he had a roster that was absolutely dismantled in the last 2 years, and the Braves didn't get major league ready talent back. So, you know, most of the big names, the Swansons and such that Atlanta got back, won't see the big leagues until either late this year, maybe next year.
Yeah, I think you set it up perfectly, Rich. And, you know, the reality is that when John Hart came in, new regime, I guess if you could say, I think the plan was that this is going to be a 2017, 2018. I know they have the new stadium coming in, but when you unload all of your marquee guys, your money guys, clearly you're rebuilding. I don't think they thought it would be this bad. They have 11 team home runs. 11. How many does Giancarlo have?
He's got 11.
Yeah.
Ball in the dirt.
And that was after yesterday they had a couple home runs. Jeff Francoeur hit a home run. So they got a lot of rebuilding to do, and I guess Freddie wasn't in the long-term plans.
Burris with a count 2-2. Well, that's one of the amazing things about the Phillies. The Phillies are 29th in runs scored in Major League Baseball. Only the Braves have scored fewer runs, but yet Pete Maccannon's ball club is 22-17, and it's largely by the strength of their starting pitching and bullpen.
One-run games, right? Where they have 13?
They're 14-3. Ball in the dirt.
They have a run differential of -32 coming into this game. So now -31.
There's your one-run leaders. You know what the weird thing is? They haven't played that many two-run games. You would expect if they played a lot of one-run games, there's your fewest runs scored. The Phillies, the Padres, the Mets. They've played 17 one-run games. They've played two-run games. And last night was the second one.
But they've had to have a few blowouts because there's no. I mean, I look at that run differential and say there's no way they should be 5 games over 500. They've given up 161 and they scored 130. And at the end of the year, if they're, you know, the statistic that I do look at, it's pretty close. The playoff teams, the run differentials.
It is. Burris went, dug out by Mathis. Galvis is running to third, and Bohr's going to hold on to the baseball. And it's a hustle play by Freddie Galvis.
Yeah, let's see. This would be a good angle right here. See what Galvis has done. Swing and a miss. What? You know what? Mathis did exactly what he was supposed to. This isn't much of a secondary lead right there, but just as he stepped it through, that's an aggressive play by Freddie Galvis. Good base running.
And maybe not the worst of things for Justin Bohr not to throw that ball to third. Here's Borges now. Galvis is the runner at third. And Chen misses away. 2 outs, bottom 5. A Tommy Joseph home run is the difference in this ball game. Ball and a strike.
Yeah, that change-up fastball combination and then sprinkling in enough for Chen is with his slider. He's really shown good 3-pitch repertoire. Done a nice job.
Busted bat, center field, and the Phillies have their second run.
With or without Galvis at third base, he'd have scored on that. Off the end of the bat, broken bat. That's a heartbreaker for Chen. Pulls the string out in front. Borges staying on the baseball, going up the middle. Another point for the Phillies.
Top of the order, Odubel Herrera. And a throw to first.
So disappointing. You give up, you make good pitches, and you got a shot at getting out of it. You get the big strikeout to Burris, and then an off the end of the bat, broken bat single, scoring another run. Just those are tough to swallow sometimes. Got to regroup, get the next batter. I don't believe 2 runs is going to beat the Marlins.
Two hops for Dietrich. And Chen gives up the second run to the 6th. Marlins are into the Phillies' pen, but down 2-0. Marlins moments. Tom Glavine on the mound. 2000 is the year, and Luis Castillo was just getting into his prime. 4 bases, 4 stolen bases. For the season, he would swipe 62.
Was that Lenny Harris?
It was.
Playing second?
For the Braves?
I think it was Colorado.
Was that Colorado?
Yeah. You love this, don't you?
I do. I mean, the Fanatic, essentially what they do here in Philly is they get a dance team or a group or whatever, and they just let the Fanatic freelance. And there's the sprinkler. He is such a great ambassador of fun in baseball. All right, here's the bullpen. So Vince Velasquez and his 10 strikeouts, 103 pitches he's done. Pete Maccannon's going to need another 4 innings from his pen if he's going to hold on to a 2-0 lead. Elvis Araujo gets Yelich, Stanton, and Bour. Although there is a right-hander in the pen right now. Araujo went 2/3 of an inning last night. He did face Yelich, and Yelich had an RBI double to left off of him. Yelich tripled in the 3rd.
Nothing tricky about Araujo. We saw him last night, as you said, Rich. Fastball, slider, went 2/3 of an inning. Gave up that hit to Yelich, a walk and two strikeouts.
Ooh, fastball up and in.
The Phillies' pen has been surprisingly good. What's his fastball in supposed to be, and then whoops. Jenmar Gomez had basically had a tryout. Pete Mackanin didn't know who his closer would be.
Fastball up.
Gomez has been really good, 14 saves. Hector Neris, split finger guy, has been almost unhittable.
Ground ball in the hole. Yelich has got speed, and he beats it. It's a base hit. Yelich is second on the night, his 4th in the series already.
Big guy, can hit the ball out of the park, use all the fields, and beat out a fairly hard ground ball. Nice play by Freddie Galvis, but Yelich's speed just too fast.
All right.
Sure.
Here's Stanton. He's going to get a rare at bat against a left-handed reliever. Stanton in the midst of a 4 for 35. He did walk his last time up. Oh, and 1. 2-0 Phils. That one pops out of the glove of Ruiz. So the right-hander's ready in Philadelphia's bullpen. Andrew Bailey, whom the Marlins saw last night as well. Fastball in, it's 2-1. But you got another lefty in Bour up next. So you would think Araujo is around at least
through Bour.
Yeah, through Bour. Right now the Phils are attacking Stanton with fastballs.
Here it is, hit it. 6'7" Araujo, right hit by him. That's not too, he's not being cute. That's belt high, middle of the plate.
Breaking ball fouled at the plate.
Yeah, that down and away spot is just being exploited, or at least that's what hitters are trying to do. But with Stanton's power, he's just so dangerous. You miss, the ball's hit hard.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Stanton gets a piece, fouls it off. We have a Ryan Howard question from Chris in Tallahassee. We'll get to it after this Stanton at bat. Right now the Marlins are down. There's Howard. And that's how Howard looked up until about 2 minutes before he was called upon to pinch hit. Fastball up, and Stanton chases. And there's 1 out in the 6th. All right, here's the question from Chris in Tallahassee. with his ability to hit the long ball, and he has homered, what is it, 8 times this year, would somebody trade for him? And if so, who would it be?
Be American League team, and I gotta believe the Phillies would have to pay the freight. I think that would be some team. I don't know who it is. Left-handed bat off the bench, I could imagine. Pop,
which is substantial. I believe he's owed the balance of $25 million this year, and there's a $10 million buyout next year.
You know where the Phillies are, and this is a nice story, but if he's not part of it, which he's not, it's just a matter of him getting through his contract. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, but if you're gonna pay him to play periodically and bat, what's he bat? 174. They have 8 home runs, 17 RBI. Is it addition by subtraction? I mean, well, could you get a couple, I don't know, mid-level prospects?
Maybe more importantly, it frees up a spot for another one of the young kids for you to get a look at and find out something about, if that's where you're headed. And obviously that's where the Phillies are headed. So I think you're right, though. I think American League team, he could still hit the ball out of the ballpark, and maybe a change of scenery. Not that he's unhappy in, playing here in Philadelphia, but if he goes to a team that's contending, a chance to get to the postseason, that's the change of scenery. Bohr to right field. Bohr just goes back at the track, reaches up, makes the catch. And now there's 2 outs, and Pete Mackanin is on his way out to the mound. And so they certainly don't want this lefty to face Ozuna, and he'll make a pitching change. Fish Family, the official loyalty program of the Marlins, and the Marlin fan, your bonus code is Louis Castillo. There you have it. West Kendall Toyota called to the bullpen. Phillies on top 2-0. Remember, it's a 1 o'clock game tomorrow. South Florida Honda dealers, get you ready for Marlins and Phillies game 3. A Inside the Marlins game day preview. Tom Kohler, Jeremy Hellickson is your pitching matchup. Craig Minervini and Carl Pavano. Hopefully those two have settled who's bringing donuts tomorrow for the pregame. Here's Andrew Bailey now, and he'll face Marcell Ozuna with Christian Yelich at first. Marlins saw Bailey last night, got to him for a couple of runs. He was wild. He walked 2, gave up a sacrifice fly. Ozuna's walked and flied out. Yelich at first, and he's back with a dive. If the Marlins lose this game 2-0, or even by 1 run. They'll go back to that first inning and think about what they had and what they could not get across. Herrera is under it. Fish had second and third with nobody out in that first, didn't score, and right now they still haven't, trailing it 2-0. Bottom 6, that Philly fan may be tweeting a question. South Florida Ford dealers driving Twitter Tuesday at Fox Marlins for Twitter, foxmarlins@gmail.com for email. Wei-Yin Chen still in there, and Cesar Hernandez is up at the plate. If you're just joining us, the Phillies have a 2-0 lead. Tommy Joseph home run and a Peter Borges single. Wei-Yin Chen has been effective. Gives up a single to center. But he faces Franco and Joseph now here in the 6th. We had a question earlier, an email question about the gentleman that used to sit behind home plate with the radar gun and the walkie-talkie for the scoreboard. We have an email from a John who says the new device measuring pitch speed at Citizens Bank Park is a dish-like device mounted below the announcer's booth. I think he's referring to the StatCast box, which is in every major league park. StatCast has all the high-def cameras in there.
So there's cameras and what, radar guns?
Yeah, it's state-of-the-art stuff. I mean, it's Major League Baseball put a lot of money into that. It was years in developing, and that's how you get all the cool StatCast
Zoom
readings.
in that sucker. Can we see the cameras? No? I didn't know that. Look at you, Rich.
There you go. Now, we're being told that the gentleman who has the radar gun the last few years sits behind home plate, but he's behind the Diamond Club. So that, I guess the Diamond Club is that club seats right behind home plate. He still charts the pitches. And as a Phillies fan, it's nice to hear balanced perspective on the game. It's from JW. Ball and a strike. Franco. And Chen chases Hernandez back with a throw. The Phillies have a couple runs. The Marlins, without a run, have 4 hits. Phillies have 5. One and 2.
Trying to get that ball in on Franco. His last at bat, he hit the ball nearly out of the ballpark near the 409 center field on a fastball away. Big inning right here for Chen. Pitch count, very good, 71 pitches.
Good fastball. Wow. And Franco strikes out.
Now you saw where Mathis was trying to set up. Now watch here. He wants the ball upstairs, and this ball is right down the middle, almost a surprise. You know, hitters are so in tune to when pitchers are ahead that it's a waste pitch, quote unquote. You see where Mathis wanted it. Boy, that is a mistake that Chen get away with. And you see how much Franco is pulling off big time. He's on his heels. Got away with one.
Now Joseph. Well, Joseph enjoyed his first major league hit. His family's was in all weekend, and they got a chance to see his first major league hit last night. And so for an encore, he homered in the second, singled in the fourth.
In from Scottsdale, Arizona, Joseph grew up. Second round pick by the Giants in 2009. Hunter Pence trade. 2012 at the deadline.
Now that's a trade, if you look at it right now, that the Giants certainly got the best of. I mean, Hunter Pence has been a terrific Giant, catalyst on some world championship teams, kind of the spiritual leader of the Giants. Chen wanted that pitch. You could see him bend over when he didn't get it, and he felt it was a strike. It looks like it has a piece of the plate and it's at the knees. Ruiz is on deck. There's your pitch count, very manageable, but he's down 2-0. A little roller foul. Chen is due to hit third in the top of the seventh. The Phillies, of course, have been in their bullpen for the last inning, as Vince Velasquez, even though he struck out 10, was lifted after 5. He was at 103 pitches.
Had some good at-bats. The home run in the second inning, his first at-bat, and then a good piece of hitting in his second at-bat against Chen in the fourth, going the other way. He's got some good takes here. Make a quality pitch here. Change up down the way.
Runner goes, foul back. Hernandez running from first. And it's still 2-2.
Seeing the ball. This guy's having some good ABs. Chen showing him his whole arsenal. Fastball, slider, 2 changeups.
And you would think
Don't give in.
Hernandez will be running here, 3-2, even with 1 out. He goes, end of the bat, and it stays foul. Tommy Joseph, Wei-Yin Chen. Hernandez from first, runs again, line to center, a base hit. Ozuna into the gap, overruns it, and it gets by him and ends up on the track. Hernandez scores, Joseph to third. Marcell Ozuna trying to cut the ball off. Lost it completely.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. The ball skipped. I know it was rained earlier. Just overran it. Misplays it. Ball in the gap. I cut it off. Maybe that stays a single. Single in an error. No RBI. It's a misplay. I know it was wet earlier, but he overran that ball. Costing the Marlins another run and the runner at third base. Now the infield's got to be in.
And Ruiz is at the plate. Throw behind him, and he's safe. Prado with a tag. Jeff Mathis, a good throw and a good time to try that play for sure.
Yeah, first pitch. Mathis coming out of the chute behind Ruiz. Well, that's a good angle right here. Makes it close. Oh, I don't think Prado got there to make a tag on his arm.
It looked like he had to reach. And the Marlins are actually going to challenge. So the Marlins, whatever replay they saw, they felt. Here's a look, better look. That's close.
I think it looked like his arm jammed back by the time that Prado tagged him in his armpit. Yeah, you can't tell there.
It's certainly not a bad place to roll the dice because you're close to the 7th inning where umpires can use replay at their own discretion. It's a runner at third.
Well, it's got to be conclusive. So the folks and down in Chelsea and Manhattan, they got to see it clearly. On the angles that we've seen, I haven't seen anything conclusive. Have you?
Not yet, but of course in New York, in Chelsea and Manhattan, they've got the views from our telecast. They've got the Phillies telecast. And they have a few Major League cameras of their own that we are not privy to. Now this look, the glove gets to the shoulder before the hand got there, but I don't know that he got the tag on him as that shoulder came by. It looked like the glove. Here's a look. That's close. Safe. And the Marlins lose their challenge. We'll see if it's a stands or is confirmed. It stands, so there's not enough to overturn, and there's not enough to confirm. So just not enough to change that call. So you resume the at-bat for Ruiz. And Chen gets another strike. It's 0-2. Another run. 3-0 Phillies. He went. That's a strikeout. Chen gets an important out.
Yeah, less than 2 outs. He had a sac fly. Could tack on another run for the Phillies. Clearly, Ruiz went there.
Not much argument from him. Here's Galvis now. And remember the double that Galvis had was that little looper to left. Yelich tried to make what would have been a spectacular play, and it just hit off the edge of his glove. Galvis would score in the 2-out single by Borges. In the air to right. Stanton, long run, and he slides, and he got it. He holds it, he limps away, A terrific catch. Disappearing from view. Stanton went down, got it, held it. Had a collision with Ozuna and the wall in Washington on Sunday. This, the catch. And from this angle, you can see how he hit the wall with that right foot. In between innings, Stanton moving a little gingerly. Big man went a long way, made the catch.
Nice play.
Bottom third of the order for the Marlins. Now remember, since Vince Velasquez went just 5 innings, this has been a relay effort by the Phillies pen. Elvis Araujo handed it off to Andrew Bailey, who hands it off to David Hernandez. And still 3 innings to go. Bouncer up the middle, and Echeverria's got a hit, and Miami has a start in the 7th. Mathis is next, and then the pitcher's spot, and obviously at this point, you're going to see a pinch hitter. Miami's pen is heating up. Mathis 0 for 2. Dustin McGowan in Miami's pen. FGS has this for you, Al.
Oh.
Are there occasions when the water or the Gatorade in the dugout of the visiting team gets checked for mind-altering potions? Obviously frustrated with the night for the hitters.
Who's this?
FGS.
FGS. Well, FGS, I want you to know that your own trainer, maybe it's not anymore, but I know when I played, the trainer for your team would make the Gatorade.
Makes sense.
Yeah, right? You don't want anybody else messing with your Gatorade. I hear you, GS, whatever the acronym was.
Yep.
FGS. But this is they faced a tough pitcher. They knew it. I know Velasquez gave up 4 runs in the first 2 innings against the Marlins 2 starts ago, but this young man's got that kind of stuff, and he's shown it. And so far, the mix and match, and Pete McCannon, the manager of the Phillies, has stymied these hitters.
Tweet from Bonnie. I just moved into the Fort Bragg area. If I'm not military, how can I get a ticket to that July game? The Marlins and the Braves playing at Fort Bragg. That on a 4th of July weekend. In fact, it's July 3rd as Mathis strikes out. Marlins off this road trip have a homestand on the 20th, which is Friday. It's the Marlins and the Nationals at 7:10. Music and Culture of Cuba on South Florida Ford, Cuban Heritage Night. Pick up the new Budweiser burger and beer package, just $25 after the game. Enjoy a fireworks spectacular. Go to Marlins.com for tickets. I will have to ask, Bonnie, that's a great question, if tickets are available to the public or if it's a military-only game in Fort Bragg. Here's Ichiro now. Ichiro getting a pinch hit appearance here. Ichiro appeared last night and walked. Little busted bat flare. Galvis can't get it, and it falls for a hit. And so Ichiro, you don't hear him break many bats, but that certainly sounded like it cracked.
He got jammed here inside. Must have hit him on the label, but a little jam shot. I thought Galvis made up a lot of ground, made a good effort.
Ichiro now with 2,949. So Al, he's 51 hits away from 3,000.
Well, in the role that he's playing now, I don't see him getting it this year. Or do you? 50 more, 51?
51 more.
Maybe.
You never know. Here's Dietrich. Marlins down 3. Dietrich takes a fastball from Hernandez for a strike. Prado, Yelich behind Dietrich. 1 out.
I don't know why I threw that out there so quickly there, Rich. He's got 14 hits now. We're a month and a half into the season. He's on pace for that.
Dietrich fouls it off. Well, look, Ichiro had a lot of at-bats last year, too many because of the injuries to the outfield. You know, first Yelich with the back, Ozuna's ineffectiveness, Stanton's injury. And Don Mattingly said Ichiro's not going to get that many at-bats, but if he hits, you know, at this pace in terms of average, then he's got a shot if he's used like this with a start. He may start tomorrow's game. Tomorrow may be a day off from, say, Stanton and Wright. And Dietrich swings and misses at a breaking ball. So Dietrich strikes out. Here comes Prado. Speaking of tomorrow, it's an afternoon game. It's a Wednesday showdown brought to you by La Lechonera. Tom Kohler, Jeremy Hellickson. Here's Prado now. Prado doubled back in the first. It's hard to say that the top of the first was a turning point in the game, but it kind of felt that way. And you look back at it now, Marlins came out against Velasquez, whom they got too early in Miami. Dietrich singled, Prado doubled. The Marlins may have been a bit conservative in holding Dietrich around third, but heck, you had Yelich, Stanton, and Bohr coming up. Prado, ground ball, that's foul. And Yelich hit a sharp ground ball to short. The infield was back, and inexplicably Dietrich held at third. And then Velasquez went to work. He struck out Stanton and got Bohr to pop out, and the Marlins had nothing to show for that first inning. Velasquez would strike out 10 in only 5 innings.
Struck out the side in the second inning with a leadoff walk to Ozuna, 11 pitch at bat. Yeah, I'm with you. You know, to think that even just a quick point, a run in the first, it felt like, okay, that was a mistake. Should have scored. Dietrich should have. Phillies get a run in the bottom of the second off of Tommy Joseph, lead off the inning with the home run. Tack one on in the fifth. And then, yeah, another one. You normally, You know, you get a couple picket fences, and in my opinion, with especially the way the Marlins have been hitting, that shouldn't beat them. And with the pitch count up, but so far this bullpen, the Philly bullpen, has held them down.
Araujo, Bailey, and Hernandez. And there's the story of the game right now. Runners will be on the move, and if Prado were to knock one in a gap here, it would mean 2 runs. You've got Echeverria at second, Ichiro's at first. 3-2 coming from Hernandez. Got him. Down goes Prado. And the Marlins leave 2 more.
Welcome back to Philadelphia on a Twitter and email Tuesday, where tonight it is all about the NL East. Bryce Harper, one of the most exciting players in the division. He can do so much damage at the plate, which is why teams are trying to pitch around him. Al, with that being said, I have this question for you from Ethan on Twitter. He wants to know, as a former pitcher, how would you approach Bryce Harper?
Ooh, Jessica. You know, I think it was kind of smart of Joe Maddon. You know what he did. He walked it 11 times in I don't know, multiple times. Jessica, I think sometimes players, pitchers get a little stubborn, and you think that you could get everybody out. But I think the drop off for me, with after Bryce Harper, Ryan Zimmerman's got to beat me. Jason Worth has to beat me to show it repeatedly. So I think it's not bad strategy at all to keep a guy as Bryce Harper off the base, or not give him anything to hit.
Line drive to Prado, he makes the catch. Saw an article today in which Barry Bonds was asked about it. Dustin McGowan is in the game for Miami. McGowan out of Miami's bullpen. And I guess they asked Barry, what advice would you have for Bryce Harper going through this? And Bonds said the advice his father gave him, because when he played for the Giants, he had his father, Bobby, and his godfather, Willie Mays, who would advise him. He always said, hey, look, if they walk you, steal a bag. Your job is to make that hurt. Your job is to score runs. And Bonds, who stole over 500 bases in his career, said that was one of the things that when he got walked, when they pitched around him, he would look for any way to make it hurt, and stealing a base and scoring a run was the quickest way to do it. And he said, and don't put pressure. Don't worry about what happens behind you. If guys are struggling or someone's in a slump like Zimmerman was that weekend, just do the job that you can do, and that is, if they pitch to you, hit it. If they don't, get yourself on base.
I mean, listen, Bryce Harper's not batting 1,000, so he still has a batting average that says he can get outs as well. But at some point, you're smart about it, right? The strategy of who's on deck, And do I have a better matchup, or is this guy not as good as, in this case, with Bryce Harper? Yeah, I think what Barry did, good slider there from McGowan.
David Lowe couldn't hold up, and a strikeout there. So 2 outs. Dustin McGowan looks sharp. Next All-Star Saturday is this Saturday. Marlins and Nationals, 7:15 start time. Dress as your favorite superhero on Superhero Night and get all-you-can-eat seats for just $28. Look at that. There's Al Leiter.
Yeah.
Piling on Kevin Brown because it's Kevin Brown bobblehead night. First 5,000 fans get a Kevin Brown All-Star bobblehead courtesy of Pepsi. Go to marlins.com.
'97. Dustin McGowan coming in throwing heat.
Well, McGowan, a Philly at the end of last year, and a guy who endured a lot of injuries as a Blue Jay, and he hits Borges.
I always feel like, now because hitting batters is such a, you don't see it. It's like, oh, he didn't do it on purpose. Of course he didn't do it on purpose. You're coming inside, trying to throw a two-seamer in, and we're just wearing it.
Yeah, with 2 outs.
No, of course. But I mean, your first thing is, that was common. You saw often guys getting thrown inside and knocked down and hit. I'm not talking about the 60s or the 70s. I mean, this guy's got hit.
Here's Odubel Herrera.
I mean, when you do a lot of games, does it seem like hits batsmen is not a rarity, but it's a few games go by, you see a guy get hit.
I think over the last 10 years or so, pitching inside has become a rarity. It's less common to see pitchers really attack inside like they used to. Hey, I'm going to establish that inside part.
True, and I think part of it is because of the sensitive nature to it, with umpires at their discretion as to whether they think it is on purpose. I think a little bit of it is coming up through college ball and high school and travel ball, that the aluminum bat. You try to stay away from the inner part of the plate, generally speaking, so guys throw away more. But to be effective and dominant major league pitcher, you have to be able to throw inside.
Toyota Inside Look brought to you by the RAV4. Since Odubel Herrera's major league debut, Odubel Herrera's got 195 hits. That was in April of last year. And only Bryce Harper and Daniel Murphy have more hits. Prado is right there with him. So this is a guy that, as we talked about, a Rule 5 pick out of the Rangers organization, given a chance. A middle infielder whom the Phillies asked to go out and play center field. He's 0 for 3 tonight. Borges can run, and he's at first. And with 2 strikes and 2 outs, and the leadoff hitter in Herrera up, you would expect Borges will be motoring soon. No. Pitch is out. Now Davey Lopes is over Borges' shoulder right now. Neris in the bullpen for the Phillies. In the later innings, the Fanatic normally pacing like this. Borges runs, pitches out. Mathis throw is not in time. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I misspoke there. I was just in Washington, D.C. It's Mickey Morandini down at first base. I was thinking back to the days when Lopes was here. Lopes now on the Nationals staff.
Mickey Morandini, first base coach. Boris, good speed, got a good jump, and a good pitch to run on it. Something down in the dirt.
And Morandini, one of my favorite names to hear Harry Kalas pronounce. Right?
Mickey Morandini. Something like that.
Yeah. And Herrera swings and misses. Mathis digs it out, throws him out. In Philly tonight, 7 innings in. The Marlins are down 3-0 with Christian Yelich leading it off. Bullpen has been very, very good. Even the Fanatic impressed. Velasquez struck out 10 in 5, and Hector Neris comes out of the pen. Now, what good is that when you can take the photo of the actual Fanatic? Yelich goes after the first pitch, fouls it off. Yelich has tripled and has singled, 2 for 3. You need to put that Fanatic on the selfie stick itself and then hang him out, then take the picture. Fastball in.
Well, so far, Velasquez, 5 innings, only 3 hits, 10 strikeouts. Araujo, Bailey, Hernandez, and now probably their best reliever to date, Hector Neris, 26-year-old, a 1.57 ERA. Really good split finger fastball.
We've got Giancarlo Stanton, Justin Bour after Yelich.
There it is.
At 85. Even Yelich is asking about that with Carlos Ruiz.
That's a split finger. And it dips and moves almost like a knuckleball.
Where did that pitch go? Here's a 2-2. Because remember, with the Roger Craig hum baby influence a lot of people throwing it. Now, it's more popular in Japan. You see a lot of Japanese or Asian pitchers that come over and bring that split back, but it really dipped in popularity. Here's a 3-2. Fastball, strike 3 at the knees.
Well, it's an unusual pitch because when you throw it, Rich, you kind of extend your elbow. There was some thought that it caused elbow damage and elbow problems. So guys were leery of throwing it, and it's a tough pitch to control. That's just a dotted, down and away, paint fastball. Yelich couldn't pull the trigger. But what's unique about Neris's split is that he spreads his finger in a way where he can change the movement and the speed and the spin. It's really been exceptional for him, and he throws it a lot.
There's an illustration, that strikeout number of how the Phillies are getting it done as starters and out of the bullpen. Stanton fouls a pitch back, and it's 1-1. Stanton tonight has struck out twice and walked. One and two.
Yeah, they're just coming right at Giancarlo. That's a fastball right there, inner half.
Stanton turns and hits one foul. Broke his bat.
So here you see where Ruiz setting up and wanting the ball up and in. And I thought the whole game, now interesting, Carlos Ruiz, excellent caller of the game. And he's got these Philly pitchers just go along with his pitch selection. All they spotted. Look at that, Fox tracks everything in on Stanton.
Look how far that pitch was. There's the split, and down goes Stanton.
Yeah, for Neris, if you don't get one of those heaters, and Stanton had a couple shots at it, the one before the one he fouled off, that is nasty. That ball looks like it's about belt high. It ends up in the dirt. Yeah, about 2 or 3 feet of movement.
Strikeouts in relief. A trio that are in uniform tonight. Hernandez has pitched. Neris is in now. Phelps pitched last night. Bohr takes a fastball for a strike. Too quickly. And Neris isn't fooling around. Six hits apiece. And the Marlins have 2 more extra base hits, a double by Prado, the triple by Yelich. Phillies have the Tommy Joseph homer, a Freddie Galvis double, and then 4 singles. That's 2-2. Chased it, and the split. 3 more strikeouts for Hector Neris. And the Marlins come up empty still. It's 3-0. Chrysler is the presenting sponsor of Miami Marlins baseball. And tonight, it's cold, it's wet, it's Philly. And the Phils have a 3-0 lead. Cesar Hernandez against Dustin McGowan. And McGowan throws a fastball in. The Marlins beat the Phils last night to go 4 over. Bring the Phils back to 5 over. And of course, some interest certainly on the series that's opening in New York. That one pulled hard on the ground. Dietrich on his knee gets the out. Nice play by Derek Dietrich. Tomorrow on an all-new The Ultimate Fighter, a shocking development. Al, this is a shocking development.
Yeah, tell me.
It could derail everything for Team Claudia. Can they keep it together, or is this Team Johanna's time to rise? It's all tomorrow at 10 Eastern and Pacific, only on FS1. Let's see you in that sport.
Are you kidding me? I'd get killed. But
first, you need to get tatted up. And then you
did look like my
you need
my
to get
six-pack.
ripped.
Yeah, I saw that. That looked like
that's you. Team Al.
You do that? You're always working out in the gym. Did you do that little martial arts stuff this morning?
No, that was former Marlin catcher John Baker's cup of tea. He would not. I mean, I would like to see John Baker and Rougned Odor. That would be a fun thing to watch. Genmar Gomez.
Really? So John Baker was that tough?
Bake had some skills. Franco takes out. In that ball game in New York, it just ended, and the Mets shut out the Nationals 2-0. That was a Syndergaard versus Scherzer matchup. Scherzer went only 6 1/3, struck out 10. Remember, that's the start after 20 strikeouts. And Syndergaard went 7. He struck out 10. Addison Reed and Juris Familia finished off the shutout for the Mets.
We got a no-hitter in Milwaukee against the Cubbies.
Couple of solo homers in that game, Granderson and Conforto.
Brew Crew.
Pitch misses down low.
Who's starting there? Is that Cody Anderson?
Chase Anderson,
Chase
I believe.
Anderson, yeah.
Marlins saw him, actually saw him, I believe, a couple times.
6 innings, no hits.
4-0 Milwaukee over the Cubs, bottom 6. So 6 no-hit innings. Bouncer on the ground. Prado cuts it off, fires to first in time to get Maikel Franco. So there's 2 outs here in the 8th. And here is Joseph, and all of a sudden he is becoming a favorite around town. A lot of good talk today about what he has had to overcome with the concussions the last few years, the lack of games because of the symptoms. Phillies are hopeful that the more he plays first base, the more comfortable he'll get there. And the home run was a line shot that just clipped that netting attached to the foul pole. Ball and a strike. So Genmar Gomez is ready. The Phillies have a 3-0 lead. McGowan has looked good out of the pen.
Yeah, Dustin McGowan. If he could get that combination at 97, consistent velocity at 97 miles an hour. Good slider. Just getting a groove. He's gotten burned on his slider. There's a good one.
Yeah, snapped it off. And the Marlins go to the ninth. They're down 3-0. Miami Marlins Baseball, Fox Sports Florida. Brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. On the all-new 2017 Chrysler Pacifica. And by your South Florida Honda dealers. Well, the weather and the temperature an issue today. The rain starting late morning, continuing up until about 6:15. Been some drizzles in this ball game, but nothing of any concern. Temperatures have dropped a bit. Jenmar Gomez will try to complete what's been an impressive effort by the Phillies bullpen after a 10 strikeout, 5-inning start from Vince Velasquez. Gomez becomes reliever number 5 for the Phils.
Yeah, after Velasquez, as you said, Rich, 7 strikeouts add on.
And you see that 17 strikeouts, it ties a 9-inning record. So it's the 4th time it's happened in Marlins history. Hector Neris struck out the side in the 8th. In fact, the last 6 outs recorded are strikeouts by this Phillies pen. And Ozuna, who's flied out twice and walked, his 16-game hit streak has not been extended. In an extra inning game, the Marlins struck out 21 times. That was against Arizona back in 2000. Jam shot, little pop up, and it's caught by Joseph. And so it looks like Ozuna's hit streak is going to end unless the Marlins can figure out a way with 1 out to score 3 runs and get him another at bat. Echeverria 1 for 3. JT Realmuto is on deck. So the Nationals go down. The Mets win. Nationals are still in first place. The Mets creep within a half game. The Phillies can join the Mets if they can finish this one off. The Marlins would stay 2 games behind the Nationals. So there still would be 4 teams within 2 games of each other. Ball and a strike.
Yeah, it's, looking at the scorecard here, it's hard to really pinpoint. I know we went back to that first inning, but it's just dominant pitching. I mean, you know, they're when you strike out 17 of the 20, what, 5 outs now?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it looks flat.
That's a line drive, and Etch continues to swing it well here. 5 hits in the series. He's 5 for 9.
Yeah, a little sinker down out over the plate. Nice job of hitting there from Echeverria.
Here's Real Muto, who hits for Mathis. Chris Johnson is on deck. Real Muto, who was 1 for 3 with 2 walks last night. Chase Anderson is through 7 now. That's a shot in the left field. Real Muto has a hit. It's going to get to the wall, and that means Echeverria is to third. Lenny Harris with the Real Muto stopping at second. I don't know if Lenny was starting to send Echeverria. I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, I think Lenny Harris, third base coach, was kind of eyeballing what was going on out there with Goodell. Watch here from first base. You got to be sure with down 3 runs here in the 9th inning. Goodell, once it got stuck under there, I think there was some hesitation by Lenny to maybe have him go. Good move that he didn't. You see Echeverria, it's right in front of him, so now he picks up Lenny Harris, and it was somewhat caught in between, and I think that ball getting stuck under the wall may have had him consider it.
Well, it was an aggressive turn and a good stop. And here's Johnson, and suddenly the Marlins have a chance to get a run closer with a hit. Here's Lenny Harris. A little bit of everything. I think Echeverria had put the brakes on initially. Counts 0-2 to Johnson.
Well, he's got to fight now. 2 sliders in a row from Gomez after sinkers that were left out over the plate for Echeverria and Real Muto.
You got Dietrich on deck. Jenmar Gomez, Phillies closer, in the dirt, trying to get him to chase. Gomez leads Major League Baseball with 14 saves. He's 14 of 15. There's your shutouts. Marlins have only been shut out once this year. Johnson with a count 1-2. Again, no chase. And it's 2-2 and a visit from Ruiz. Well, the Phillies felt, even though they like Ken Giles, that a rebuilding team, if you could get a starting arm like Velasquez for a back of the bullpen arm, that might be in the long term a better investment. And so Gomez kind of slides into the closer role, and so far he's taken the ball and he's done quite well with it. 2-2. They've tried to get Johnson to chase on 3 consecutive pitches.
5. He got ahead with 2 sliders, 0-2, but yeah, then he keeps expanding. See every one of those pitches out of the zone, 2 of them Johnson swung at. Well, he's thrown 5 in a row, so clearly he thinks that that's the pitch to get Chris Johnson out.
Does he throw 6?
I'm gonna say yes.
Do you really want to load the bases for Dietrich?
No, you throw a strike.
Well, let's see what he throws. Echeverria at third, Real Muto at second. Gomez to Johnson. Did not chase. Wow, that's had 6 consecutive sliders. The first 2 he chased, the last 4 he didn't. And now the tying run is at first base. And here is Dietrich, and Bob McClure, the Phillies pitching coach, is on his way out to the mound.
You know, as soon as a pitcher gets, you know, in a jam, obviously with the second and third after the double from Realmuto, both on his bread and butter pitch. Gomez primarily is a sinker ball pitcher, and then he went right to slider exclusively, and here he is in trouble.
Jeanmar Gomez, this is appearance number 21, has given up just 2 home runs. And here is Dietrich, who is 1 for 4. He has struck out his last 2 times up. Prado on deck. And a sinker is low. And so the Marlins not done yet. Gomez 13 pitches into this 9th inning. A single by Echeverria. A pinch hit double by Realmuto. And a 1-0 pitch. Dietrich to center, Herrera over, and there, and he makes the catch. This will get a run home, but the Marlins are still too shy. And down to their last out, it's a sacrifice fly by Dietrich. And it's up to Martin Prado now. This is a ballpark that does not have big gaps, big alleys, and the Marlins don't have great speed at first. But for Chris Johnson, who is at first base, one advantage he has, he's not being held by Joseph. That'll give him a few extra steps. Prado double back in the first.
Good numbers against Gomez, 3 for 6.
If Prado reaches, Yelich is next. Jose Urena in Miami's pen. Marlins have to have somebody ready in case something happens here, and this game does get to the bottom of the 9th. Pitch is out. Prado took it. Ruiz tried to capture it, and Prado got a break. And he's back. Ball and a strike. Prado a ground ball. Joseph dives, has it, flips, and Gomez gets to the bag, and the Phillies win the ball game. Well, Miami rallied, made it interesting here in the 9th, but the Phillies even the series at a game apiece. Marlins avoid the shutout. Vince Velasquez gets his revenge. And now the Phillies bullpen just exceptional tonight.
You know, just right after Velasquez did his thing, Araujo came in, strikeout, 2/3 of an innings. Bailey got out of that inning, and then Hernandez strikes out the side in his inning. Neris did the same. Boy, Philly pen was exceptional.
Gomez gets the save. Marlins Live is coming up next.